Hey guys, this is Stu from Stuart Scale Models, and this video is the final reveal for the Thomas Amselgruber Tiger 1 build, which is basically, I started back in, I think around about February last year, or was it around about July last year? I think it was, end of July I think, or was it August? I can't remember. It was just last year I started on this, because obviously I just finished my Battle of Britain group build of the Hurricane, and I decided I was going to do another Tiger. Now originally when I bought this kit, which is the Tiger 1 mid-production with Zimmerit, which is Dragon's kit number 6700, I was going to use it for an Autocarius Tiger. Excuse me. I decided in the end that I was going to crack on with it and went for a Normandy option in this kit. Now if anybody's going to build dragon kits, what I would suggest you do is do your research, because when it comes to the instruction sheet they can be a bit misleading, and Dragon are under the impression that you know everything about tigers or the vehicle that you're specifically working on. The best way of interpreting Dragon instructions is, I would suggest you go across to Cohen C's channel and have a look at Mike's video on how to interpret Dragon instructions. Now for that one he used kit number 6704, which is the 3-in-1 late production, because obviously you've got various options on each Tiger as to how track layout should be, or wheel layout should be, or anything else that should be on that specific vehicle that you're modelling. So be very careful. I know Mike suggested I do it, and I actually watched that video, so thanks for your help on that, bud. It was a great help, and yes, I did do my research on this as I was going through the process of the build. But I would suggest, to be honest, if you want to build a superb Tiger, definitely get one of Dragon's kits. They are a little bit over-engineered, but the detail on them is superb. Yeah, they're the best you can get. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. You can't go wrong with Dragon, to be honest with you. And the utmost other authority on Tigers I would suggest is Adam Mann. So pop across to his Idiot's Guide to Tigers. He's a mind full of information, and I have to say he's certainly helped me out with some of my builds, so thank you, Adam. Now getting back to Mike, one thing I am going to announce is that I am going to dedicate this build to his late son Nicholas, who, as we all know, he recently lost, sadly, and it's been a very difficult time, not only for Mike but for the family as well. And in essence, I would check out his latest August builds update. He's certainly been busy, and Mike is actually going to do a tribute build to his son, because the story is that 10 years ago, when Nicholas was 12 years old, he wanted Mike to help him build a kit. Now the kit he mentioned, which is what he's building at the moment, is a Dragon King Tiger. So hence, as a tribute to Nicholas, he's decided upon that. A very fitting tribute it is too, because if it hadn't been for Nicholas, this wouldn't have spurned Mike to get back into the hobby, and actually spurned his love for armour kits. So in that essence, I think we all should be thankful to Nicholas for actually getting Mike back into the hobby, because if that hadn't happened, Mike would have been inspired me to get into armour, as well as some of you guys out there, and basically inspired us to do the build to our best ability. And as we all know, Mike is extremely generous with his time. I would suggest he's one of the utmost authority on Tigers, other than, I'm not taking anything away from Adam. He would probably dispute that, because he's very humble and he's become a great friend of mine. So that's the reason, Mike, if you don't mind me doing this, I'm dedicating this build to your late son Nicholas, because if it hadn't been for Nick, he wouldn't have inspired you, and you wouldn't have inspired us to move on. In fact, it was Mike who suggested I get a channel up and running. So that really sort of spurred me to go on. So really, in essence, it's thanks to Nick that I am, as well as Mike, that I am where I am at today with this hobby with you guys. So that's why I'm dedicating this build to Nicholas. Anyway, without further ado, I shall reveal the vehicle itself. I'm very happy at the way it's come out. Yeah, extremely happy actually. In fact, I would say it's an improvement on my last Tiger. So without further ado, this is Thomas Amselgruber's Tiger 331, guys. Here she is in all her glory. As I say, superb build. The build itself wasn't that complicated because I knew what to expect from the previous build. It took me next to no time to get the vehicle assembled actually. So yeah, you go. The Zim on it isn't bad, I have to say. It's pretty good. However, obviously Dragon have issued another kit since then, which is 6704 late production, and the Zim on that is a little bit more superior, so I do look forward to building that one, and I'm going to do that as Wittmann's Tiger 205, possibly sometime next year. But as I say, this is the mid-production. The difference between this and the early is that if you notice, there is no FIFA filter on the back of the vehicle. However, you do have a travel lock for the actual gun itself, which is used for when it was not being operated on. That is the main difference really. Other than that, it's a flashback. The back of it is fairly flush, so composed to the early production with all the FIFO filters, etc. The next process then was to go on and prime it, which is what I used, a cheap primer from a pound store, although admittedly I did have to give it a couple of coats before it bedded down fairly well. But I was pretty happy with that. And then obviously the next process was to put the Dunkelgelb down. Now initially I was going to use AK's late war German vehicle set, which I got off cheap from eBay. Unfortunately, I ran out of the Dunkelgelb, so I ended up using Tamiya's Dunkelgelb. And then obviously used the rest of the colours from the AK set, the Dunkelgrau and the green, for the first attempt at Tritonal, which went down very, very well, although I did have to touch up the Dunkelgelb itself. But that's par for the norm of the case. The next process was then to put down the clear coats and then put the decals down. Now the only problem I had was on the side here. Once I actually applied the second clear coat, the Balkan Cruise broke up. Now that is unusual for Dragon. So I ended up sourcing an extra Balkan Cruise from an aftermarket set, which I will use at some time in the future for an Otto Carius Tiger. So hence that's why it was used. The pennant numbers on the side of the turret, yeah, they were quite difficult to bed down. There was a lot of the air turning blue initially, and after copious amounts of setting solution, we got them on. So that was good news, and I was quite relieved. It took me the best part of an hour and a half to get them done. In fact, 2 and a half hours actually. As I say, with the air turning rather blue, but there you go. It was done. Right, sorry for the ring of the bell. My battery's getting low, so I've just got to plug the phone in. These things always happen when you're trying to do a blooming video, so bear with me. Plug her in. It's all happening today, guys, I can tell you. Right. So that's that, and I'll just plug her in, so bear with me. And for some reason it's not charging. Oh dear. Right, okay. Let's try that again. Sorry if the camera's a bit shaky, but I am trying to get this phone to charge. Check your charging colour. Oh dear, we seem to have a problem with the charger. That's not good news. Right, bear with me, guys. As I say, the next process was basically to clear coat them after the decals, and that was to bed the decals in, and then weather it with a dark dirt wash, which came up well. And then obviously I went on to the weathering process. The first thing that I did was basically, if you notice on the exhaust shrouds here, rust them up, and then I put the rust on the back of the turret bin as well. So I'm going to basically pan in a bit, as you can see here. So that's panned in. You can see all the rust effects on there with the rain, etc. So I did that. And then once all the rust and the chipping was done, which was from the AK rust set, it was onto the figures to get them assembled, because initially I was going to do it as though it was firing in a field, but I decided against that. I thought I'd rather have it on a scene where it's in a Normandy road, possibly in a high street where the crew are at rest. So that's what I did. Now for the base, I used the Fields of Glory plaster set, and if anybody wants to look up their accessories, I would suggest you get onto their website, which is fieldsofglory.com or .co.uk, and they are based in Camberley and Surrey here in the UK. The figures came from Tamiya's Tanker Rest Crew set. Assembled them and then put the Steiner res on, which is the base colour for their uniforms, which you see here. And that Steiner res, guys, marvellous primer, absolutely awesome stuff. I even used it for the base coat on the base itself. Now with the base, the next process was to put the dark grey for the tile, well, the road tiles on. So we did that, and then clear coated it, and then put down UMP's light dirt wash, which brought out all the brickwork very nicely actually, and then washed the excess off, and then did a matte varnish for the base, and the base was done. Then I went on to the actual vehicle itself, matte coated all the components including the running gear and the tracks. Now with the tracks, I put a base of Steiner res down, and then obviously the rust effects colour from the track set that they do. Then the next process after that was put the dark dirt wash in to emphasise some of the detail. I then went over a pencil just to give it a little bit of a worn effect on the tracks. And then after that, put the light dirt wash in, rub the excess off, and then went over it with some buff just to give it that dusty effect. Now with the base, I did the buff as well, and if you notice on the vehicle itself, after I'd matte coated it, I also put a sort of a dusty light buff effect on there as well, because obviously with the roads at that time, they were going through rather dusty terrain in the middle of July 1944, when they were trying to counter-offensive all the invasion forces. But as I say, it came up very well. I was very happy with that. And then the next thing I did was basically with the figures was dry brush some of the creases in their uniforms, which you can see here, and then do the detail paint work for all their lapels, as well as put the flesh colour on for their faces. Okay, and then obviously use some of the AK, well actually it was a Vallejo German field grey uniform set for the rest of the details on their uniforms, including the commander's hat. Now if I pan in again, oops, I'm going the wrong way, to the commander, which you can see there, and I'll pull him forward a little bit. The next process after that was basically to clear coat them, after I've done all the detail with the lapels, because initially I was going to use a decal set to save myself a lot of time and trouble. Don't bother with Tamiya's set, guys. It will not bed down at all. They just kept falling off. Totally useless, so don't do that. You're best off painting the details yourself. And yes, that did make my eyes hurt. But it was well worth it in the end. After that was done, basically I then clear coated to bed them all the details in. Went over the dark dirt wash, which popped up all the lovely details, especially on their faces and the creases in their hands and gloves, as well as the uniform itself, and give it that nice tonal variation, as you can see here on the commander's set. Then matte coated them, and if you notice, I've clear gloss coated the belt around his waist just to give it that tonal variation, because obviously that was pure leather. And it was the same with the crew member as well. Now, after that was done, I did the final assemble of the vehicle itself, and I'm going to pan back again if I can. Bear with me, guys. Here we go. Oh, actually gone a bit too far. Then applied the frontal figure and glued him onto the base, and obviously the commander figure onto the vehicle itself. The tracks and the wheels went together perfectly, no problems at all. And then obviously I did the weight effects by just adding a little bit of super glue to the tops of the wheels to give it that weighted effect. Now I didn't use the pin method this time because I wanted to get this build completed, so I chose that. Now with the exhaust stacks, I used pastels basically to give it that sort of sooty burnt effect, along with some rust streaks as well. And if you notice also, I used the drill just to basically give it that dented look, because obviously it used to get dented from the heat coming up from the exhaust and the engine. So I'm going to pan in again, which you can notice here, and it looks very effective. Now you notice I've got bullet holes in there which I used my Dremel drill, or the equivalent of Dremel drill, in it, and then put the dent effects in it before I painted it all, etc. Now I've left some rust effects in there because obviously it was dripping down where it got wet, etc. And it looks very, very effective. And then that was basically the build done. And I'm very, very pleased, because the scene depicted here is, if I pan back again, pan back, he says, famous last words, too much. There we go, that's it. Is basically where they've come back from a patrol. The rest of the crew have gone to get food and provisions, while the commander and one of the crew members is waiting for them, so that they can stop off somewhere, have some supper before moving on to the next patrol. Now if you notice with the actual gun barrel, it's a different colour. Now the reason that being is that originally I thought it was where they rushed the vehicle out into action. No, this was not the case. Some of these vehicles, with them firing the actual main barrel, they used to get damaged sometimes, or in a field or in a fight. So hence they used to fit on a new barrel, hence why this is basically a different colour to the actual tritonal scheme and the rest of the vehicle. And I did check my references on this, because somebody else has built this exact vehicle with the same grey Panzer grey barrel, and I referred to the photo which I've shown in previous updates, and that was the case as well. So this is true to the time and the period. So basically that is it, guys. This is the completed build of the Thomas Amselgruber's Tiger 331 mid-production from the Dragon Kit 6700. And I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed the process of this build. Admittedly it took a long time, but at the end of the day it was well worth it. Now I do apologise if I haven't got my turntable. As I say, I haven't been able to locate it. I've hidden it so well I couldn't find it, so I've had to use the old Tamiya spray one, just to emphasise some of the detail and the work I've done on her. But as I say, I'm very happy with the end result, and I hope you guys are too, and I look forward to your comments. And that is basically this Tiger in a nutshell. So as I said, I am also dedicating this build to Nicholas Cohen, who Mike sadly lost the other week. And as I say, Mike, Don't worry about if you're losing your mojo a bit. We all understand, because basically I've lost people close to me, so we all understand what you're going through and your family going through. As I said to you in a previous email, time heals, bud, and it will. Each day, as you say, will get better and better. So that's it for now, guys. So until the next time, get kit crazy, happy modelling, and I will see you on the next monthly update. Okay, bye for now, and take care, and keep all those great builds going on.